Come join Kyle, John and David as they go through what's on their playlist. Find out what's everyone's favourite at Chicken Soup for the Soul Entertainment. We have a few segments, to be honest. In and out points, no celebs and the gossip. Back in time where we talk about the big M's, coming attractions, what the cue. Quick checks, who'll be laughing? You abundantly. Welcome to Dual Redundancy.
Yes, welcome to Dual Redundancy, the only podcast where you can hear all latest in television and entertainment news with too many else with exactly the same opinions. I'm one of those hosts, David Allen, and another one is
John Berwick. The third one is
Kyle Bridger. I would say that I am the It's Always Sunny with my sunny disposition, and John is the Super Mario Bros because he has that sweet sash. And Dave, you can be our how-to with John Wilson.
We'll be filming you guys.
Yeah,
we're getting all that.
Catching us in our deepest, darkest moments.
Hopefully I'll be on, the list for the after party here. John Wilson wasn't included on the HBO one. His name is in the title, guys. Come on. But all right, yeah, we're going to be breaking down a lot of stuff tonight because this episode's a little bit of like a summer catch-up episode. All the TV shows and movie, we're going to talk about Super Mario Brothers, all that stuff that we maybe missed talking about on the podcast this summer, we're going to hit on tonight. So we got a lot to do, a lot of shows to get through, and this first segment, John, what is it?
wait, I thought we were doing Netflix first. Are we doing In-N-Out first?
No, of course we do that first.
Oh no, In-N-Out points.
We've forgotten about it.
In oder out. In, out, in, out, in, out.
I completely misunderstood you and went over the show order.
Oh my goodness, it's
Everything's
okay. That
out of
could
order.
be one of the worst decisions in podcasting history, John.
Oh, yeah.
You might be making the list.
What a segue.
Yeah, what a segue. We're going to be talking about Rolling Stone and their list of the top 50 worst decisions in TV history. Now, instead of focusing on jump the shark TV moments, they instead looked at some of the network level choices made by those clueless suits from the past 6 decades, and they came up with this list of the 50 worst decisions in TV history. There's so many to go through. I want to first I'm going to run through the top 10, and then we'll get our thoughts on those, and then maybe the other ones that missed the cut in the 50. But top 10, from 10 to 1, number 10, David Caruso leaving NYPD Blue after 1 season. Number 9, the networks call Florida for George W. Bush in 2000. Number 8, HBO, TNT, Showtime, and FX turned down Breaking Bad. Number 7, Fox gives Chevy Chase a talk show. Number 6, NBC royalty F-ups the Leno-Conan situation. Number 5, Roseanne torches career with a racist tweet. Number 4, Norm Macdonald is fired over SNL over some O.J. Simpson jokes. Number 3, Fox passes on The Sopranos. Number 2, NBC turns Donald Trump into a TV titan. And number 1, the worst TV decision in history, according to Rolling Stone, NBC cancels Freaks and Geeks. All right, let's just get our thoughts on this top 10, Kyle. What do you think of those 10 worst decisions?
I've never seen Freaks and Geeks. I started an episode and then I always forget to go back to it. But I'm surprised to see that number 1. But I do know a lot of people get upset about that. And especially with the talent that they had working on the show. It's just wild. The NBC thing with Donald Trump, I think it's just what we know now. I think then it's probably just some dude they're just using his name as a way to build a show, but knowing what we know now, it kind of stinks. All these decisions, I see them, and some of them do look bad, but then I'm I don't know if this would have worked there. So Fox passing on The Sopranos, I don't think that works at Fox.
It definitely doesn't. And who knows? Maybe Breaking Bad on HBO, Showtime, maybe they will go too far in one direction instead of being kind of limited with that basic cable constraints. Maybe it helps. in other areas, and everything kind of works out for a reason.
Yeah.
It is wild that like NBC, they have 4. I mean, well, I guess technically 5 if you count the networks calling George W. Bush the winner, being a part of that. But like 5 of the top 10 worst decisions here. Not good for NBC. If you keep going out a little bit further and you get to the top 13, you get 2 more with NBC canceling Baywatch after 1 season and The Office going on without Steve Carell. So,
but they would have always done. I think any executive anywhere would have kept going with the show because it was such a behemoth. You want to make as much money as you can,
Yeah.
Also, I remember with Baywatch, I remember when I was younger, I felt like I saw that show everywhere.
Yeah.
And it was only 1 season. It has like, people mention it in other TV shows I've watched. It's been like, that show was literally everywhere,
Yeah, I'm surprised. I mean, it must, went to a different network and stuff but yeah, it looks like, NBC canceling all these shows after 1 season. I don't know if I fully agree that Freaks and Geeks being the top number one. Like, yeah, I like the show. The cast is stacked for sure, but number one in the worst decision in history. And looking at this list, I mean, a lot of this history is like in the last like 20 years. I feel like we didn't really go too far, like in the 6 decades of history, I feel like. But I got a few more to go through. But John, anything that stick out to you in this top 50?
I mean, there's definitely a bunch, like the whole Conan thing. I think what it really separates down to is things that are a mistake in hindsight and things that are a mistake as it rolls out. And like the whole Conan thing is a mistake as it rolled out. You know what I mean? Whereas, networks kind of passing on shows and stuff could potentially be a hindsight thing, but it's those ones that are like live that are like, oh, this is a mistake on their part as we're seeing it unfold. Those are the kind of things that I kind of would more expect to see on this, because like you make a mistake and you don't realize it, that's one thing. You actively make a mistake, that's like, oh boy, that's bad, So those are the kind of things I'd like to see a little bit more of on a list like this.
Yeah, because like, Freaks and Geeks, I mean, the ratings just weren't there. So like, was it really a mistake? Were they really going to do 7 seasons of a show that didn't have the ratings just because the cast 20 years later is huge? Like, I mean, I don't blame them. But I mean, if you look outside the top 10, I would have had this number 11 much higher on the list. That was Quibi burning through nearly $2 billion in 8 months. I mean, $2 billion. I mean, sure, they passed on a cult classic, but $2 billion just spending that, lighting it on fire, that's a big deal. And then some of these, it just all like lost, blows the ending in number 18. 19, Seinfeld kills off Susan in heartless fashion. It's like, well, the lost one's pretty subjective. People, some people like it, some people don't. But like 19, I feel like everyone loves that. Like, I mean, that's what one of Seinfeld's biggest moments is Susan dying in the way she did. Like, that's what the show is. Like, that'd be like any show. Man, Tony Soprano killing that mobster in that one episode. It's like, well, what did you think? This is
show, like,
but there's a contemporary one on there that I know we like. 34, HBO Max dumps the HBO.
Yeah,
that was. I think that goes with John saying like, yeah, we kind of know this is a bad idea.
Yeah.
Like as it's happening.
A live train crash. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to bring up the live train crash of Quibi. Like, we were always questioning, like, is this going to work? And, like, if you or I were to lose, like, 1.75 billion, would you ever expect to work again? And I imagine Jeffrey Katzenberg is tied to all types of projects.
Yeah, I'm sure he's fine.
Yeah.
Number 50, I'll close with this. Jeopardy allowing Mike Richards to anoint himself as host. Whoa, what a train wreck that was.
But what a great way to start the list, because I was immediately like, oh, that's a good one. Yeah,
that's a good one to start with. Definitely. It's modern. It was definitely a terrible decision that they're still kind of figuring themselves out of.
They still haven't figured it out.
Yeah, so. Oh, boy.
I just like the James Franco one as the Academy Awards host. It's like, That's one of the worst decisions in T. It's like
it was a bad ceremony.
It was
like,
bad, but I
top
mean,
50, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. And then I guess it's, and again, they really like to pick on NBC because there was one there about like them firing Adam Sandler from SNL, and it's like, again, it's like these people weren't the people, like sure they made a mistake, but like anyone could have said that. Like there's so many people that have just weren't picked to be on SNL that are huge names now, and it's like, they don't get a good job for the people that they did pick. It's like but
I didn't realize they were fired. I did not know that that's what happened with those two.
Yeah, I believe a few during that time period were fired. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing I want to mention is my dad loves ridiculousness. Yeah. Who knew that was MTV's
he's the watcher on MTV.
Yeah. He loves it.
Well, all right. Well, he has plenty to watch on MTV. That's for sure.
Always on, man.
All right. Well, yeah. I mean, it's going to stay on for a while because it's day 108 of the WGA strike and day 37 of the SAG strike. Screen Actors Guild, the WGA, the Writers Guild, they're still on strike. And in the last week or two, it seemed, at least for the WGA, that there was some positive movement to negotiations, or at the very least, starting to talk about negotiations. But I saw that like Lucas Shaw of Bloomberg reported that Hollywood studios have offered to possibly tell writers how many people are watching their shows, which would be big because they've been so hesitant to do that because, that could help with residuals and with contracts and like demanding more money if their show is more popular. And
it almost feels like they're holding it over their head. Like, all right, like how good your show's doing. Yep. Here's your 3 cents. Like,
well, I think it will help in the negotiation, like later on of like, oh, I have the biggest show on Netflix. All right, Netflix. Season 2, you want that, huh? And stuff like that.
The thing is, that sucks so much because it's like, you guys know. We know,
They know. They 100%. It's probably more accurate than Nielsen to begin with because with that, it's like Netflix knows how many people are on their servers and how many people are clicking, yes, I want to watch this. Meanwhile, it's like Nielsen still has this like system of like, well, we have these like 10 families in different parts of the country and we ask them in a diary, it's like, we don't know for sure who's actually watching, but there was this new complication though that could be entering the arena, kind of derailing all this. I saw users on Twitter shared how TikTok may be the new TV. This past week, Peacock started uploading full episodes for free on the app in parts. The pilot of a new comedy series, Killing It, racked up more than about 4.5 million views in just 3 days.
Isn't this just Quibi?
Yeah,
again?
it is. But with established shows, yeah.
With established shows on a platform we know that works.
Yeah.
And it isn't losing $2 billion in eight months, that's for sure. But it's not just Peacock. I mean, supposedly I saw Apple TV Plus uploaded Silo, Paramount Plus uploaded Strange New Worlds. It's like, and I remember when, and maybe they still do, a lot of streamers would upload full premieres on YouTube to get people hooked. And sure, like they're meeting the audience probably, where they want to see it. And like on TikTok, scrolling through, maybe something catches their eye. But I think this really will open up some more stuff for like the WGA. And it's the idea that things are constantly changing with tech, where it's like, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, they were fighting for their episodes, the residuals to be sold on Apple, Apple iTunes store. Now it's like, well, what about these views I'm getting on TikTok and those ads that you're making money off of on TikTok? It's just so complicated now.
But this was the thing that I was talking to you about. It's like, yeah, we can come up with a contract, but then if you start doing this, it's outside of, I mean, what is this, new media? I mean, it's like we're showing it in bits and pieces. I'm just also scared at our attention span, man.
Oh, yeah.
It's just we're good. It's so bad.
I've seen some studies about TikTok and how it interacts with your brain, and it's not looking good.
Yeah. And I mean, they, of course, if they're doing research on it, those companies already knew well in advance, It's it's crazy. I just worry because like somebody like Jake Paul, right, who's like this YouTube star, he just came out and was like, Oppenheimer what even happened? I left. It stinks.
They're just talking. Yeah.
I'm like, if this is like one of the best, people are saying like this is one of the best films of the year, and we have somebody being like, "What?" I know it's just one person's opinion, but they're shooting that off to millions and millions of followers. It's crazy.
Well, yeah, I think I saw like a post on Twitter about like somebody like waiting in line at a ride at Disney that was like 3-4 hours long, and it's like, I want you guys to stop complaining about The Irishman. If you can sit in a line in a queue for 3 to 4 hours, you can watch The Irishman at home. Like, it's just, but well, I got this other one for you, kind of diving into tech and the stuff that WGA and SAG is worried about. According to the Financial Times, Alphabet's Google and Universal Music are in talks to license artist voices and melodies for artificial intelligence generated songs. Now, we all know that the music industry is grappling with deepfake songs made using generative AI that can, mimic artists' voices, often without their consent. But the goal behind this is to develop a tool for fans to create tracks legitimately and pay the owners of the copyrights for them. And the report said adding the artists would have a choice to opt into the process.
So it's basically scanning the extras, but for artists, where your voice gets scanned and then, Sony Music makes money off of me and you hard work making a deep fake of somebody else's song. Is that what I'm understanding?
I think so. But I mean, at least the artist will get paid.
Oh, it does say the artist will get paid, and not the right holder.
I mean, it says the adding the artist would have a choice to opt into the process, and it would pay the owners of the copyrights for them.
Yeah, I guess it depends on if the artist owns that copyright or not. Then.
Yeah, so
but here's the thing.
It's still a little tricky.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing with music, anyways. They're already getting screwed. Like, it takes a gazillion streams to make any money. So, like, even if you are like, yeah, I'm okay with it, there's like, you're going to get nothing. You're going to get absolutely nothing. I would be terrified if I was, it's just like, everything's going to be fake. I don't know how we're going to figure this out. It's going to be absolutely insane.
I'm just glad that there's not 430 hours of my voice just on the internet for people to...
on a hard drive on my computer? Yeah, no, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, it doesn't exist, that's for sure. But yeah, I mean, at least like there's some money like with this. It reminds me a little bit of like the whole thing with like Napster back in the day. Obviously, everyone was pirating. Like, okay, this is huge. And then it's like the Apple iTunes store came around. It's like, oh, 99 cents for a song. And sure, that is pennies for the artist, but... At least it made it a little bit more like safer, more legitimate for people. But who knows? Yeah, as Kyle said, it's still a messed up system. So at least it's some people are getting paid at least a tiny bit versus not being paid at all. So
this is kind of off music, but Howie Mandel apparently uses VR to do some of his podcasts. So like. I only knew about it because Bill Burr
VR virtual reality.
Yeah. So he's doing the interview, but he's not there. So he asked Bill Burr to do the podcast, and he's like, and he told Bill like, I'll be there, but I won't be there. And Bill's like, what are you talking about, dude? I'm not doing it. No. And so apparently, they've got like this whole setup, and it's Howie Mandel, but it's not Howie Mandel, and he's asking the questions to the person, but he's not actually there. It's all
dude. He's using that proto hologram. Oh, I've seen that before. Yeah. So what they're doing is they're filming him in a different location, and there's a hologram of him doing the interview with somebody else.
Yeah, I think it was like that.
That's crazy. You know what? I know that he has some. I don't want to say OCD because I don't know if that's correct, but he has some issues with skin to skin contact and germ stuff. Yeah. And I wonder if that is partially from that and partially from convenience.
No, it was just total convenience. He was like, I'm in LA.
Still does like he hosts like America's Got Talent. Yeah. Like he's in that auditorium with people.
So then it's just well, I mean, all right. So if he's on the road, maybe that is more convenient to be able to bring a green screen and a couple cameras, and then whoever he's doing it with can just
Yeah,
it's cool. I mean, weird, but cool.
Yeah, it's just really strange. We're definitely in this transition. You could feel it. You can definitely feel it. It's weird.
And one of these days, I'm just gonna like start the podcast, and I'll just be a hologram, and I'll be on a beach somewhere, you know.
Yeah.
But there was at least this ruling that came out in the last week that may be a win for creatives and a potential roadblock to this venture and everything that AMPTP is fighting this, you know, the WGA and SAG about. On Friday, we got a ruling about an AI created art and copyrights and how those go together. A federal judge on Friday upheld a finding from the U.S. Copyright Office that a piece of art created by AI is not open to protection. The ruling was delivered in an order turning down Stephen Toller's bid, challenging the government's position, refusing to register works made by AI. The U.S. District Judge said that the copyright law has, quote, never stretched so far to protect works generated by new forms of technology operating absent any guiding human hand. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So art created by AI cannot be copyrighted.
That's very interesting for several reasons. One is there is some human guidance. Obviously, you put a prompt in, and obviously you can choose what data to train an AI on. And you can choose how it weighs certain things. So I don't know if I 100% agree with his reasoning. However, I think I do like his outcome, because how can you copyright something that is trained off of essentially a ton of other copywritten works?
Yeah.
You know, you can claim at some point it's transformative, but how is it transformative? Is it just transformative because it's different? I don't know if that's enough of a reason to be able to do that. You know, like that's very weird. I can kind of see where they're coming from. Again, I don't know if I completely agree with their reasoning, but I think I agree with their outcome. I
definitely agree with you. I think on that, because it is, yeah, there is some guidance from humans to, I mean, by human hands, they put in the code to tell the computer to do this specific thing at this. I mean, it's, you know, I moved a mouse in Photoshop, and, you know, like I wasn't physically doing it, but I kind of was in a way. But the idea, though, it is based of work that is copyrighted. That's where it gets really tricky. And I think, yeah, the ultimate thing is like, well, if it's work based on copyrighted work, then you shouldn't be able to copyright that work.
And where does this break down? If I train an AI exclusively on my own work or public domain work, or even my own work that's not copywritten, can I still not copyright it even though it's transformative of my own work and I've consented to myself? You know, like where does this line stop being black and white?
Yeah,
you know?
That's what I was thinking is like, what if I like half create something and then have the AI create the rest of it, or like something like that? It's like now we're in this middle land. This is...
Yeah, like the AI prepped maybe some of the materials or something like that, and then you did the actual work, but like they were involved in the process. What's the percentage that it needs to be, you know?
And I mean,
human.
We could even see this going into like films and stuff like that with screenplays. Like, oh, I wrote all these scenes and then I left this scene for the AI to finish up or whatever. You know?
Yeah.
Or the reverse of that, where, you know, you have AI create a framework and you flesh out the scripts, like, you know, or you have it, you feed it a sketch and it turns it into watercolor, you know, like there's so many different variables that it's I don't know if that AI art isn't copyrightable is enough of a blanket statement to cover all forms of what could be considered art.
And I gotta imagine the laws, haven't people been like upset about copyright law as it is? So I can't even imagine that we're up to date with where this is going.
Yeah. And I'm sure like the studios who were probably banking on like, oh, we'll just use AI to write all of our scripts. It's like, well, go ahead, create all this stuff with AI, but just know you won't be able to copyright any of it. And it's just like, so people like me can maybe do something with that work now, because it's not, and that's like their biggest concern, because they care so much about trademarks and copyright and their characters and their IP. And it's like, well, if it's AI work, it's not copyright. So it's just like, it's definitely a blow, I think, to the studios, and good. Good.
And,
so
I mean, even another example on top of that, say something like, they use those pictures in Star Wars to create somebody's face who passed away. Like that's all like AI driven, but they have permission in theory to use that person's likeness, and they've taken the photos. That's all pictures that they've taken that in theory would be their own work. Can you then turn that into somebody's face and use that in a broader work? Like, it's just, there's too many like layers to have such a blanket statement like that,
You're skating a fine line with that, John, and that leads, I think, perfectly into What the Q.
What the is going on?
Okay. One of Netflix's many reality shows this summer has been called Psychological AI Torture, and that's Falso Amor. That's the title of a Spanish language show that translates to Deep Fake Love. Now, the contestants are real life couples, and they are split up and put into two separate houses. Single people looking for love are then added into the house. Contestants are then made to watch videos that show their partners cheating on them. But here's the catch. While some of those videos could be real, others may be deepfakes. And in order to win, couples need to make sure they guess correctly on what footage is real and what is fake.
Oh, this is such a nightmare.
Yeah,
Holy
this
cow.
is brutal. Who would
It's
have
literally preying on like your base emotions to like
insecurities?
Oh my god.
Oh my
That's
God.
terrible.
Yeah, so you can see in this video here on Twitch, it's quick, but like there's some added, maybe kiss in there when it wasn't actually a kiss. They were just close in the pool, or they will kind of switch things up a little bit because it looks like the contestants had their faces scanned for this reality show, and it's Black Mirror. This is Black Mirror, the reality show. It's I'm scared to watch it. Even this trailer is freaking me out of how convincing it is. Like, I thought it was gonna be like very like the in Jury Duty, the very crude animation of like the stuff. This is like there's $100,000 prize on the line, so the producers must be very confident that they can take this material and make it seem real, and it does.
Well, I mean, there's a ton of relationship shows or people that are hooking up with each other shows. And now you add this extra layer of... It's like the thing when you're like in the shower and you're thinking about like, oh, if I had done this in an argument, like it's basing... That's what this whole show is off of that emotion. It's crazy, man.
Yeah, because even that, like, last one, like, the two clearly were not even close.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, they were kissing. It's wild. And it's like, I wonder if, like, these contestants, like, even know what the show is before they start. Because, like, I've heard with, like, Too Hot to Handle that they may not know, like, what dating show that they're going on. And then they get there and it's like, oh, this is Too Hot to Handle. Oh, no. Like, I wanted to hook up and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, so, like, maybe in season 2, you can come up with a game plan and be like, look, I'm never, ever, ever, ever going to do this. Always say it's, fake or whatever, and we can win the money. But, like, it is playing with emotions, though, because, like, it's hard to deny a video that you are seeing with your own eyes with somebody you care about. And then, it just opens up the questions like, well, these people were scanned in, like, now I'm just worried what Netflix will do with this footage of me. If they can make me do this, like, again, it goes to the Joan is awful. What can they make me do in other situations? It's like, oh boy.
Yeah, that's scary to me, man. That's very scary. That's crazy.
So it's out on Netflix, Falso Amor, if you want to check out Deepfake Love. Not for me, though. Not for me. I got some other shows that may be more fun to watch and enjoy, and we're going to go through a bunch of them quite quickly, so it's time for Quick Checks. And we're going to run through some of the stuff that we are catching up on this summer that we watched, just didn't have a chance to talk about on the pod. We're going to start off with It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Season 16, it aired from June 7th through July 19th. And this season we saw the gang inflate, go bowling. Frank took on Russia in a chess match, and then Dennis took a mental health day. A lot of episodes to go through. Kyle, what did you think of season 16 of It's Always Sunny?
I enjoyed it. It always, pulls through. It's got some good jokes. It's depraved in certain areas, but it's always good for a few good laughs. And I thought the storylines were pretty interesting this year, what they came up with. The Dennis, there's a couple of things I think with this show. One, I think they should make it grainy. I think it looks too nice. It
looks way too nice in HD. It has to go back to the 4:3
just
SD.
Make it look crappy, because it's like that's how it was in the past, and also will hide some of their age and stuff. But then the Dennis, the last episode, right, is the mental health one, right?
Yeah.
How they ended it, and it just kept going and going, going, and I'm like, what is happening right now? It's just so over the top.
You could tell, and I'm pretty sure, I think fans saw it was based off of, I think years ago, Glenn got a Tesla and was happy with it. And I'm sure with the passing years, he's less and less happy with it. And that's why he's freaking out over this car and got a moment to rip the heart out of the CEO who invented it. So there's definitely some personal trauma in that episode. That's for sure. This is wild. To me, this show maybe is not hitting the highs it once hit, but it's still consistently, there's still some good moments here. One episode starts and the gang is, fumbling around talking about the economy. Frank gets a phone call from D, says, "Hang on, 1 second," hangs up instantly, and it just continues on with his nonsense. And of course I'm laughing. It's just we should see it coming, and we know it's coming, but it's still funny just the way that they're acting, and they faked this out with the bar rescue episode. I really thought, for years they said they wouldn't do it, and then one episode it's John Taffer, he emailed us, he's coming, and of course it doesn't happen. But there was still lots of other cameos. There was Chase Utley finally appears as himself. We got the return of Jimmy Simpson and Nate Mooney as the McPoyle brothers, but Bryan Cranston, Aaron Paul, they came in as themselves. And I just love how in this world that the gang doesn't know about Breaking Bad. So to them, they're referring to him as Mr. Middle and Malcolm. They think that Aaron Paul is Malcolm grown up. They can't separate, it's Malcolm's dad and Malcolm.
Yeah.
So there's some good stuff with that. I will say there's points for me that it feels a bit heavy-handed with stuff. There's the Simpsons term of Flanderization, where it's we really lean into the tropes of characters now, whether it's the McPoyles, we really go into their weirdness, when I feel it was I feel a lot of the characters were more three-dimensional in a weird way, and I feel I don't know, they're hitting us over the head with Uncle Jack. It used to be very not subtle, but more interpretation of things, and now it's just no, it's clear who he is. So I kind of miss more of the gang being a little bit more normal, instead of these really leaning into these stereotypes of their characters that they've had now for 16 seasons. But,
it's just caricatures, you mean?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, it's a copy of a copy of a copy, because they've been doing it for so long.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it's still great for some laughs, though. It's a very
definitely
solid show, especially after how long they've been doing it. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it's the longest running live action series, I believe. It broke that record. Other ones had more episodes, that's for sure. Now they only do about 8 episodes a season, but still it's been on for so long, and it's still cranking out these episodes. But all right, let's move to another FX show. We're going to talk about What We Do in the Shadows. Season 5 for this. It's currently airing. We're in the middle of it now. July 13th through August 31st will be the season. And after being bit by Derek, Guillermo is going through a slow transformation of becoming a vampire. And yeah, that's about the best way I think I can sum up the season so far, because it feels a little hodgepodge to me. But Kyle, what do you think of the season so far?
I thought it's been okay. It's definitely not their best season. They had to do something with Guillermo, but even that still feels too slow. And yeah, I just feel like they need to get moving with that. And honestly, Guillermo's storyline, I could be okay without. I don't really enjoy it too much. I like when the other guys are off doing, God knows what. I feel like they haven't given the two women much to do this season, or like the story, like the first storyline for Nadia was like all about like sex, like and it was like, really, this is what you're giving to her. Like, I know that's what the other, not Nandor, the other one, Laszlo. That's his shtick too, but it was just like, give them more, give them something else to do, I feel like Kristen Schall's character is like kind of being forced in a bit, because I feel like they don't know what to do. Like, she's a series regular now, she's in the opening credits, but I mean, the joke is that she isn't in the group. And I think she like just is randomly thrown into episodes. Like, she was randomly in the urgent care episode just because, we have her, like, let's just put her in it. And it's just like, it doesn't fully click. And I feel like, that's like a lot of the season for me. Like, I feel like I fell out of it in the last season a little bit. The nightclub, the baby Colin storyline. I agree. It wasn't really working for me. And I feel like this season, it kind of goes again with what I've been saying. I feel like they've gotten into this rhythm and they're afraid too much to like do anything too drastic. And every episode is like this one-off thing. Like, they're staying really confined. Like, and there's no like Laszlo. Like, even I love Laszlo, but it just it feels like those weird accents on words feel a bit forced now, because they're playing into how much the internet loves him going like New York City, like that whole like, they're really leaning into that. And I feel like there's nothing new. There's just like, beats on things we've seen before of like, I like the energy vampire conference room scene, but like we kind of did, it's like a retread of the Vampire Council in season 1. Like, I need a little bit more, I think. I completely agree. I was thinking back to like, I saw somebody's Twitter handle on X, I should say, was Jackie Daytona, and I was just like, man, that was a great episode. But there's random episode. But now, like, I feel like they're always trying to do something with him of like, let's just put him in like a contemporary outfit, and that's a visual sight gag. And it's like, well, we've seen that a few times now, and it kind of, I don't know. But it's I think we're in like the groove where they're like, just going with the flow. But I will say, like, the first episode of the season, I don't think I laughed out loud. The second and third one, I think were better. But the first episode, I did not enjoy. So I don't know. Not their best. But we'll see. Maybe it picks itself back up. We'll see what happens with this Guillermo storyline. Will we go back to I guess he's done with the Colin Robinson campaign thing. It was like they did that for like 2 episodes, 3 episodes, and then they dropped that. It just feels like they don't. It seems a little aimless, I think, is the right word. But all right, let's talk about the Righteous Gemstones. Let's go to seasons 3. It aired from June 18th through July 30th on HBO. You guys saw it. Tell me about it. What was the storyline of the season? Any standout performances, some weak players? What's going on with it? John?
I think that this show's strength continues to be its character design, their interactions with each other, and their outfits and stuff like that. I don't know if you got the same thing I did, Kyle, but the storyline was mediocre, and what really shined about the season was all the characters and how they interact with each other and all that. That's kind of like the bread and butter of their show right now. The story was okay, and I don't know if you finished it, Kyle. You did? Okay, so I can spoil it. The finale kind of wasn't great. It felt like nothing happened. Like, the whole thing was like all these locusts came and like they bonded over it. Like, like I was like, what? How does all their problems, all the side stuff they set up and everything got resolved by these locusts coming in? It's like, all right, that kind of is lame. So that wasn't great, but the characters and how they're written is definitely what's keeping me watching.
Yeah, I think the penultimate episode was a stronger episode. And I feel like they always do a good job of even the introducing the new characters works within the greater committee that they've already set up. So it makes for some good comedic bits. The Judy's affair, Judy, I think, right? Judy's affair, and then her husband having fighting like butt naked on the lawn was just insane.
Yep.
I'm glad they finally did something with Calvin and the dude that that he clearly likes. They had to do something there because it was just too long. It's like we need to get something going on here. So that was good. But I agree with you. It's playing off the characters. That's what works best. I do agree the finale wasn't the best. The penultimate episode was much better. And so, overall, I enjoyed it. It's still a very, very funny show.
Yeah, so does the season 3 finale kind of lead into maybe what season 4 could be? Are you guys excited to see what season 4 could be? Or is it kind of, we don't really have a cliffhanger or any knowledge of what's to come?
There's no real cliffhanger. I mean, the previous season felt a little bit more concrete in its ending than this one did, but not by much. I mean, everyone's all happy at the end, and they all are like, buddy, they're walking away. Even the main antagonist isn't like, again, spoilers, isn't dead. He's still there. He's still like, hanging out with them. So it's not like they did anything at the end of the day. So it kind of just, it was over. Like I said, that the locust came, interrupted everything, and then it's like someone hit a big reset button, and they're all back to like normal. It's like, all right. And
the only real thing I think they can build on for next year, if they want to just bring something new into the fold, but they set up this storyline where Danny McBride's older son, who used to be the stuntman, wants to now go in his grandfather's footsteps and become a preacher or whatever.
That is true.
It could lead to maybe he wants to rival or set out on his own and becomes a rival. It could be something like that or something. But that's really the only thing I can think of.
That to me doesn't seem like enough to be the main storyline. That sounds like a B or a C plot that develops, like, so I don't know. I don't, it's same again with the end of last season. I don't know where they're going with it this season. And I think I expressed this at our like halfway point. I didn't feel like there was anything that was driving the season other than they're just interacting with each other. And I feel like that's kind of where we left off as well. So,
yeah. And then even the driving force for the season turns out to be totally fine at the end because he like saves the day, Yep. So it kind of nullified the entire season. But again, there's funny bits along the way that make it worth it.
Oh yeah, I definitely enjoyed it. I liked it, and I would watch more. But it's just it's not a Breaking Bad. There's no real plot substance. It's all just interaction to me.
And I mean, we're forgetting about the major joke about the entire show is it's making fun of these televangelists, which it's like, it's a gold mine. You see, they still can make fun of it in new ways that you just didn't even know were possible, Yeah,
the Bible bonkers was hilarious every time it came up. That was great. Again, the characters are so well written, and what they're doing is so well written that I just wish that the story was a little bit higher, Yeah.
Dave, you've heard it's been on Twitter, but Baby Billy's Bible bonkers. Have you heard about anything about it?
I know Baby Billy, but I don't know much about anything else.
In the show, he wants to create because he's ashamed. He wants to do his own thing in the Gemstone family, so he creates basically Family Feud, but for religious, and he calls it Baby Billy's Bible Bonkers. And he creates like a whole
that sounds
thing.
Fun. Sounds fun.
I think they must have had a competition to see who could say it the fastest.
Yeah.
Because they're like, Baby Billy's Bible Bonkers. It's like rapid fire right through it every time. It's pretty good.
Oh. All right, let's go from one season 3 to another. The other two, Now, this aired from May 4th through June 29th on Max. And for those who don't know, it's about an aspiring actor and his sister trying to find their place in the world while wrestling with their feelings about their brother Chase's sudden rise to internet fame, and then later their mom practically turning into Oprah in her level of success. And they're always the other two. And man, this is now the final season of this show, and I'm gonna miss this show. This show was always on the bubble. It was always, possibly like, is it going to be canceled? Is it not coming back? Like, what's going on? And it survived. And I honestly think like each season it rises. I think every season is solid. There's so many just great lines. The satire, it's just. It's savage, and it's kind of ironic given the article about the two showrunners and their working conditions that they created on their set that dropped on the day of the finale. But man, they use real names of places. I feel like, Paramount Plus, Rolling Stone, they had this whole thing with Disney, which this stuff, Carrie is playing Globby in Haunted Buddies 4, and it's Disney's first openly queer character. And it's just like, wait, this blob of goo? And it's like, well, how do we know he's gay? It's like, well, because he's with another glob of glue, or, in the bed. It's like, so if he was with a woman, he was like what's it's like very confusing. But it foreshadowed real life events, with Elemental this summer. There was some actor in that saying, "Oh, this is Pixar's first, this," and it's just like, you sound like Carrie in this show. And it's just so it's just wild. And I think the season really does a number on these two, and just it makes you hate these guys. And it's I was really worried, are they going to be able to land this, and are they going to be able to give them the reality check that they deserve? And I think they do, especially with, I think, Carrie by the end of this. But what did you think of the final season of the other two, Kyle?
I had the episodes piling up, and every time I watched an episode, I was like, this is fantastic, but I just hated them so much that I needed a break. I needed a little break. I couldn't really watch two back to back. But I think also just seeing all the stuff that they would do is this is so real. The ADR scene, with them in the Applebee. The whole thing is just absurd. But I remember asking people, I'm like, yo, can you go into a bathroom and record this thing for Pizza Hut? Put a jacket over you. It's just what are we doing here, man? This is insane. But it
the Applebee's
was PTSD.
that Marvel's Simu Liu organized a family dinner for the mom there, but she's so famous that they can't go to a regular Applebee's, so they recreated a set pretty much like Nathan Fielder's The Rehearsal, and everyone's an actor, the waiters, the everyone around him just saying peas and carrots, and it's just, again, it's just so wild, the lengths that famous people will go to. And there's this great episode that actually got nominated for an Emmy in writing, which is Carrie and Brooke go to an AIDS play. And it involves, Chase is in a relationship with Kierna Shipka, that real actress, but he wants to be with this random girl named Pam, and they have to deal with that whole fallout and how the internet hates Pam now for taking Chase away from them, and they all don't want to be going to this play, but they're all guilted into it, to go every single day because of the importance of it, and it's just, I think the season was firing on all cylinders.
It was good.
The cast is great. I love Ken Marino. Every time he knocks every scene out of the park.
Scene stealer, yeah.
Yeah.
But another funny moment was Pat when she's that was a great scene because Pat, we actually get her inner monologue of oh man, this sucks. These people stink. Yeah. And then it's just a throwaway joke right at the end where she's like, oh, delete tweet. I was like, oh shoot. But this series was good. It was all over the place. I will say it's just so weird, the messaging, considering what was happening or what they are supposedly did. I don't know, allegedly did. But it's like you wrote this. Like, are you? Is this guilt that you're feeling from writing, or is you're just like a part of it and you wish you were Carrie and there's
definitely similarities if you even just look up what Carrie and Brooke look like and do for work versus the two showrunners. It's weird. But all right, that's a whole other discussion. We're gonna keep on the HBO Max universe, and we're gonna talk about How To with John Wilson season 3. It's also currently airing right now, July 28th through September 1st. We're 2/3 of the way through this final season, and I still think this show's killing it. I still think he's still finding weird footage. He's still finding these odd but sometimes sweet, interesting people. Still somehow wrapping it all up with a bow after pivoting in all these wild directions each episode. It's still working for me. John, is it working for you?
Yeah, I mean, I watched all that was available in one sitting. I just sat down and plowed through them because they were so good, and they're such easy watches, and they're so interesting to watch. The people are either like so mundane that they're interesting, or like so crazy they're interesting. Like the two people who are feuding over the guy who had like the truck that made explosions and the guy with the ATV.
Oh
and
my God, yeah.
He's like, oh, you don't like him? And he's like, yeah, he drives an ATV up and down the road. It's noisy. After launching a cannon in his backyard. It's like, what? How do you not realize you're literally the same thing? And you're just like, so that kind of thing is just insane. And it's just someone that he found,
Yeah, I don't know what the process is. Obviously, this is Nathan Fielder is a producer on this show, and it definitely shares some DNA with Nathan For You and just like this finding these people and these situations. But it's just like he's so good with just like picking up on very small moments or just signs in the background in people's apartments that contradict everything about them, or maybe adds a little bit more weight to their stories. Like he can find like something just like like what's this over here, and it's just a really good interviewer, even though he has this it's probably a put on of the way he narrates all this material and stuff like that. And so far this season he's helped us find a public restroom, clean out our ears, work out, and how to watch the game. And man, those first 2 titles, it really scared me. After what we saw in the Cover Your Furniture episode in season 1, I know nothing is off limits. So it's like, oh God. And there was points I still had to look away in those first 2 episodes. But like, man, it's fascinating to watch and just go along for the ride, because like you'll go from like learning how to work out, then it leads to a 9/11 tribute bodybuilding contest, which then leads to a massive giant pumpkin growing festival. It's just like, how did we get here? Like,
was that the same episode with the cat detective too? Because he's trying to get the pictures taken of himself.
For the
Yeah.
bodybuilding.
It's like, wow, there's no relation. All those 6 things could be entire episodes of their own talking about, but that's one episode. And you don't realize you're flowing until halfway through, and you're like, wait, he's working out? Wait, we're talking about pumpkins. Where
we're watching sports, but now we're at a vacuum collector conference. Like, what? Okay. But man, what a wild show. I'm so bummed that it's going to be over. I just hope we get more John Wilson type projects.
Well, I mean, they did him dirty with this show anyways. I didn't even know it was back until I was like, oh, wait.
Friday nights at 11? Like, what are we doing? Like, but, all right. Let's see. We got 1 or 2 more left here. We're going to do a movie now, and we're going to talk about the Super Mario Brothers movie. You guys both saw it. We discussed the trailer, but this is the #1 currently domestic movie of the year, just by about 7 million. There's another film that's coming up, and maybe he's gonna pass this one. But how was it, guys? John, start me off.
Yeah, there was some good and some bad. I mean, I think I'm maybe being a little critical about it, but we talked about this in the past and how it's probably would be the same movie if you didn't have all these stars attached to it. So why bother? I still don't like Chris Pratt's interpretation of Mario. I wasn't a huge fan of Charlie at the end of the day either. I mean, it wasn't
I
bad.
see what you did there.
Yeah, but it wasn't great. I thought Jack Black was good. I thought what's his name as Donkey Kong, Seth
Rogen.
Seth Rogen was terrible. It was just him. Like, why? It didn't add anything. It took it away from me, so I didn't like that. I did like the not licensed music, and so like not like AC/DC or anything like that. When they had actual like Mario music that they orchestrated, that was really well done. I really liked that. I really didn't like when they had licensed music because they cut it up weird, and it didn't match. Like there was other Mario stuff you could have done in there. And then as far as like references and Easter eggs go, there were some cool ones, and there was a lot that were just like, you're throwing it in my face, please stop. Like, you know, so that was kind of a mixed bag, but I don't know, Kyle, you have anything to say?
I agree. I didn't like a lot of the voice acting. It did take me out of it. But I enjoyed a lot of the Easter eggs. I think that's probably one of the best things from the movie is like, oh, I'm getting this nostalgia from when I played Super Nintendo, or like, oh, I forgot about that. And like they brought it back. Like, so those moments were cool to me. I don't necessarily know if this movie's for me. It's probably like if I had a kid, go there, and then I can. So I think it did what it was supposed to do, but I didn't love the voice acting, and you know, it's pretty straightforward with the storytelling. So I think it did what it set out to do.
Well, we're definitely going to be getting more, that's for sure. Probably a whole universe. Do you think this warrants it? Like, what do you want to see, John? I mean, Luigi's Mansion, like, what could we spin off here? What could we do with the universe and franchise?
Yeah, I mean, you got a whole backlog of different games and different, you know, characters, and it's super easy to link through to, you know, like Smash Brothers and get into a whole bunch of other different franchises, so it's not too crazy. I wouldn't say that I don't think they should do that, but I think maybe they should see, as this is my opinion, but I think they should be a little bit more not protective, but like on brand, maybe, I feel like, than what they have been doing. You know, unfortunately, we got the news today that Charles Martinet, the voice of Mario, is no longer going to be doing the voice of Mario in video games. So, unfortunately, as much as I would love to have him do Mario's voice because he's Mario, that's not going to happen in video games, let alone a movie. Yeah, so
Chris Pratt is our Mario for the rest of our lives.
I don't know if I necessarily really want another Chris Pratt Mario movie, personally. I don't think it would do bad. I think it would do pretty good, but for me personally, Yeah,
I'm just not sure, like, how much money, like, this made so much money. And I don't know how much of it was because, Chris Pratt is the guy in the mustache. No. Like, I don't, like, it's just wild. They spent so much money on those actors when they could have done, I mean, there's no way that the original voice actor of Mario commands the same salary as Chris Pratt for this movie. So it's like, get him, better performance, less money, movie still probably makes the same amount. It just doesn't.
He does the voices for like half the characters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. But like, I don't know. I had a thought, and I would like to see the breakdown of what it made by demographic. Is it children whose parents brought them, and that's, you know, it's paying off for having Chris Pratt?
Probably.
Is it people our age who have money, who are spending it because, I've grown up with Mario for the last 70 years? You know, like, what demographic is funding that revenue, and then decide how to shape whatever sequels, which, you know, maybe that means that we get something that I wouldn't like, and, you know, that's fair if that's what, you know, the money's dictating is the best, but, you know, I'm just not sure where it's all coming from.
Yeah, and like, I think we know why those actors were cast, and it's the thing that they're fighting about in the strike. It's like, you want me to publicly like display your film on my platform that I have millions of followers? Like, I should be compensated for that. As far as me with this movie, I'm willing to check it out here. I was waiting till it came on streaming. Like, I'm not going to go see it, especially not if they do another one, unless I hear it's crazy, crazy good. Mm-hmm. And where I think it's going is that they're going to introduce Wario. That's got to be the next villain, right? I would assume he's got to team up with Bowser or something.
Yeah. They always got to step it up when you do a sequel. That's for sure. But all right. That's all we got for quick checks. I got one extra little thing to talk about real quick. It's a little bit of a rant, and I blame one of our users. I asked on Instagram, what have you guys been watching this summer? And at Becky said, Big Brother, I don't like this whole Scaryverse thing. They're focusing on it way too much. And all right, that leads me into something here. It leads me into Big Brother, and that means it's real and spectacular.
And by the way, they're real and they're spectacular.
Yeah, I'm watching this. Of course I am, and I definitely agree. We're in season 25. This season is sort of doing a play of the multiverse. You know, they have 4 different verses here: Scaryverse, Humiliverse, Scrambleverse, the comic verse. So it's like you got scary, humiliation, scramble, which I guess is just like backwards, and then like comic because they like their comic competitions. But one that is getting the most attention is the Scaryverse, because each week a contestant is being pulled to the nether region. Yes, I said that correctly. That is what is being said on CBS broadcast. They are brought to the nether region. And there's an idea here, but like the execution is just not making sense. Like one contest in week 2 saw the nether Gorgon want souls, so he kept pulling them into his world, and we don't see his world. They will talk about it like to the rest of the house through like a screen. Like the contestant will be through a screen. It's like, oh, I'm here. It's scary. Something's happening. But like when they do arrive back into the house, the show makes it like a whole segment. But then they're like, yeah, I have no update, because the show doesn't want them to say what it really is, which is probably like a hotel room, a closet, an extra bedroom that they're just cut off from the house for the week. Mm-hmm. There's no real nether region. Like, it's just so dumb. And like the whole thing, it's like, okay, they come out in like a portal, like, or not even a portal. It's just like they are on a bed and they get zapped back in, and they're like, it's the worst, cheesiest graphics, and it's just like, what are we doing here? Like the whole show, even last night's episode, there was like some one from the Humiliverse, which was like a snot themed game show, and it was just like they were like sliming the contestants. The show is like, did the producers of Double Dare 2000 just like get a hold of the set and that's what we're doing now? Like there's just like costumes and just like, goo, and just, this is a game it's supposed to be about strategy and like Survivor in a house. And we have lost that a long time ago. We are not going back. And it's really sad because the cast is such a good group this year. I mean, well, we lost one early in for using a racial slur. He's not a part of that. They get him out of here. But the rest, they're not the usual 14 Instagram influencers. Maybe there's a couple, but you got some older folks. There's a 63-year-old fan favorite, Felicia, who's great. Everyone loves her. There is another older woman, Survivor legend Cerie Fields, who is in the house with her son also competing, but nobody knows that except for this one contestant put the pieces together just from being a Survivor fan. Mm. So there's all these you have all these different characters that are, I think, let them cook, let them make the show, because there's so much going on in the live feeds that like we waste all this time with like the nether region and the nether Gorgon and all this dumb stuff with slime on the show. Meanwhile, there's so much good content on Twitter and on the live feeds that people are talking about. So that's my complaint. Just let them cook. Let them do the show for you. And if they're not, then introduce all this extra dumb slime and goo and stuff. But again, who is this for? Like, are children really watching this to see slime? Like, I don't understand why we're doing it. But that's all I got. And does that sound interesting to either of you guys?
You had me at...
You get hooked?
I was going to make a bad joke.
I know.
You had me at Nether Gorgon. What is that?
They're always late to this. They're late to the multiverse. They're late to. It was clearly a Stranger Things play.
Course,
it's like, guys, you're always 4 or 5 years behind. Like,
I'm just picturing some dude in the Big Brother house is like, hey, you want to see my nether organ? Like trying to use that as a pickup line.
I mean, the game is young. It's 100 days this season. It started in August. It's the first time it's going to go all the way through like November at this point.
Yeah,
So.
When I saw the premiere date, I was like, isn't this late?
They pushed it late solely, I think, because of the strike, because they knew in the fall they weren't going to have enough content. So it's like Survivor's 90-minute episodes this season instead of 60. They have 3 nights of Big Brother. Like, they are going all in on reality for the fall schedule. But
good thing that's going to get pushed like every week because of football.
Yo, already it's messed up. And on Sunday nights when it's supposed to be 8 o'clock, they actually made it a 10 p.m. show, which with football will probably make it 11 p.m. show. It's a mess. But with all that being said, that is exactly why we're only going to have 2 shows in September, because it is a Wild West right now on TV. But the 2 shows we have are going to be fun. First, we have an Emmys type show. The Emmys were, of course, pushed from September to January, but we're still going to have some Emmys for you. The DR Emmys. Who should win, according to us? And maybe we'll get some help from Bard. We'll see. ChatGPT. We'll see if they know the winners better than we do.
We can't copyright the show anymore.
No, you're right. You're right. And then after that, we will catch up on summer movies, and we will specifically talk about the ones that made the most money in our summer box office draft results show. So 2 big shows coming in September. Make sure you're following us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the blog, doordynasty.com. We are live Monday nights on Twitch, twitch.tv/doordynasty. We'll be back the week after Labor Day for those shows in September. And make sure you're following us on Twitter, on Instagram, and on TikTok at Do Redundancy. I gotta thank both you guys for joining me tonight, for diving into all these different shows and movies. John directing the show, putting it up on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and the blog and everything like that. I couldn't do it without you guys.
Amen.
All right. Well, until next time, I'm David Allen.
John Berwick.
And I'm Cobridger.
And that's all we got for Do Redundancy. Goodbye, everybody.